Good day, everyone. My name is Kristan Eve Oraba, the reporter for today. For today, we have two topics that we're going to discuss. The first one is basic elements of visual rhetoric in hypertext. What is visual rhetoric? Visual rhetoric is the art of effective communication through visual elements such as images, typography, and text. While hypertext is a text that contains links to other source information which reader can immediately access with just a mouse click. So there are three fundamental elements. The first one is the presence, second is link destination, and the third one is link mapping. Okay, before we proceed, remember that the design of information on the printed page or on the computer screen must express the overall structure of that information in order to be understood by the reader. Various conventions of typography communicate the metastructure of block of text such as size of type, weight of font, use the indents, initial capitals, use of bold and italic variation, and use of color. Analogous conventions exist in information graphics for communicating quantitative information, visual narratives such as instructions, and location graphics such as maps. Hypertext add a new element to visual communication by requiring the identification and traversal of links. This new element must either share in the established visual conventions or it must be conveyed through the creation of a new visual language. This apparent polarity is not a simple either or proposition. In practice, the design of each hypertext system must establish the appropriate mix of convention and innovation. Okay, let's proceed to the link presence. Link presence has two hypertext system, the intermedia and the story space. What is intermedia? Intermedia used a single glyph to represent the presence of a link in all types of data, text, graphics, animation, and video. This simple method was successful largely because intermedia supported a single type of link behavior. Following a link always opened to the destination document window and highlighted the link extent. Marking the link extent was supported by reusing two Macintosh conventions, highlighting text with a flashing marquee and graphics with gray handles. These design decisions were made to simplify the user interface. It was argued by the initial development team that different clips for different types of numbers of link destinations were unnecessary. The trade-off between supporting a complex visual code to differentiate link typing versus the simplicity of a single visual link presentation is important to consider. It becomes important to distinguish among different link types only if link behave in significantly different ways or if a property of the link destination such as quality or quantity must be indicated. The second one is story space. Story space provide a subset of these same link destination information. A reader selecting a link with a single destination get no information about the possible destination information about the possible destination before the navigation occur. As you can see in a figure 1, it is a variation of bracketing, underlining, boxing, and partial boxing of linked words and phrases. While in the figure number 2, use bold background stripes and with hard and rounded corners. Links in story space are directional, incoming, and outgoing. When a link is followed, the destination link extends in highlighted using the standard text highlighted using the standard text light color. This lack of visual rhetoric to identify link presence has led some authors to impose their own conversations, such as using bold types to convey the presence of link to the reader. This design decision also requires user to operate indirectly when following links. The user must first place the cursor somewhere in the invisible link extend and then move the mouse to click on the link follow icon in the bottom matrix. The use of solid box to mark links decreases the legibility of type within the box. In contrast, the use of gray underlining to mark link presence is various. Hypercard applications designed by the Voyager company and Apple. Computer presence are similar solution without decreasing legibility. However, story space marks link presence in transitory fashion, and so the box effect on the legibility is minimal. Link destination. Link destination is an item exclusive to the tracking links. It allows you to determine the URL to which the tracking link directs your anonymous leads and contacts. Link destination has two proto-hypertext links we are all familiar with in scholarly literature are the footnote and inline citation. Both of these conventions from print point from the text on the page to another location in the current document on the literature. The footnote, whether it is a superscript number or nonverbal typographic marks such as the asterisk or dagger, provides an index into a list of related information elsewhere on the page or at the end of the logical section. The inline citation provides the reader with at least an abbreviated name for the destination in points at. In either case, the reader is provided with a clue as the destination before leaving the narrative on the page. The facilities for marking the previewing links in intermedia provided some clue to the reader about a link's destination in the form of document name, document type, and anchor explainer. Selecting the marker for a link in a document would highlight the navigational possibilities from that link into the web view's local map elsewhere on the screen. This would give the reader the document name and data type that contain possible destinations. If the link had multiple destinations, double-clicking on the marker would present a modal dialog box listing the names of document explainers for each destination and core. The dialog appears in a uniform location on the screen unrelated to the link marker selected. The reader then had to choose one destination in order to continue navigation. This web view was intended to provide orientation and context to or for the reader as she navigates through the hypertext web. The presentation of linked destinations did not indicate the place of a document in the folder hierarchy. So, for example, previewing a link and seeing in a web view that it might lead to graphic document called portrait gave no indication of who the graphic might be a portrait of, though this information might be implied in the name of the folder in which the document resided. The reader also could not see what, other than the current document, the destination document might be linked to. The reader should be able to preview possible destinations before following the hypertext link. Must recognize that sometimes a specific value of leaping blindly into hyperspace in works or hypertext fiction, but this is more the exception than the rule. Also, think that this preview should appear in the context of the link source, which is we say visual related to it. Okay, let's proceed to link mapping. Link mapping is used in a link analysis to show the relationship between locations. Link maps can show the relationships either without direction or with directions. The connections can also show the magnitude of the relationship, such as the number of phone calls between location. So, link mapping, much has been made of the potential dangers of a reader becoming lost when navigating in a hypertext. So, Nocklin's off-cited survey articles postulates this problem, though he neither proves or rigorously defines what is meant by being lost. The reader of a hypertext is often likened to a traveler through a physical landscape. A goal oriented traveler becomes lost when she loses sight of her goal or her path to that goal. Traveler with no specific goal in mind becomes lost when he no longer perceives where he is in relation to a shown landmark such as where he came from. However, when we say a mental traveler has become lost in thoughts, we mean nothing pejorative by it. Rather, such a person has become completely involved as or absorbed by an idea, a mental state many educators wish they could instill in their students. A special representation of the connections in a hypertext is a critical support for a hypertext navigation, whether we want the reader to become completely absorbed or be led along the constraints path. The shape this map can take are largely dependent on the linking model of the system. The Xerox note card system could generate a binary tree graph to show links emanating from any root. As we can see in figure number 1, it showed a store space, a web representing a hypertext treatment of De Maupassant's The Necklace from Lando's Hypertext and Literary Theory class, spring 1993. In figure number 2, it showed a story space web emphasizing the circular relationship among spaces along with crossing paths by Lando's Hypertext and Literary Theory class, spring 1993. So, the intermedia web view was limited to a nearest neighbor map with no indication of directionally or hierarchy relationships between documents. In addition to the support for preview functions mentioned above, the web view also provided navigation support. This was expected to complement and coexist with rather than replace. The desktop folder system which organized documents into hierarchies.